Philip, thank you so much.
I'll see you in 3 years.
See you in 3 years. Wonder what we'll both be doing then.
Well, if I'm still getting away with it, I'll be a happy man.
Great, amazing. Cheers, mate. Thank you.
In 1985, Phillip Schofield got his first job on television with the TV show CBBC. He was the guy that did the interludes between each show. CBBC is a children's show, so when one show ended, before another show began, it was him talking in the middle. Now it's worth noting that throughout this timeline, I'm going to say a lot of stuff that if you are British, you probably already know, such as what CBBC is. But even though Phillip Schofield is so famous in the UK, around the world, he's not really that well known, other than now that he's trending all over the place. So for the benefit of anyone who's American or Australian, I'm going to explain certain things that might seem like they don't need an explanation for anyone who lives in Britain. Which is what this video really is about. I'm just going to do the timeline of events because there's been a lot of drama. If you follow the timeline, things have changed, things contradict themselves, so I'm just going to lay it all out. It's also worth noting that this is all alleged, right? There's not, some things are true, some things have been proven, which I will speak about, but other things it's all alleged. I am not saying that all this is true, I'm just laying out what the gossip is, what the drama is, and what people are saying. I'm not saying it's all true. So with that being said, let's move on. After CBBC, he went on to join musical theatre. He was in Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat. He played Joseph. After that, he went on to join This Morning as a presenter. This Morning is a British television daytime show. It is incredibly popular. It's on for like 2 hours every day. Other than, I don't think it's on Saturdays or Sundays. So it's just weekdays. It's on from about 11 till 1 and it snaps up pretty much every award, every British television award, it snaps up. It's on a channel called ITV, which is a huge, probably like the second biggest TV channel here in the UK. And Philip presents alongside Holly Willoughby. Holly Willoughby is like this, the angel, the nation's angel, this super nice, lovely girl, so innocent, so happy-go-lucky. So the two of them make a good pair. They also have other presenters on the show, but Holly and Phil are by far the most popular. And they've been presenting this for years with absolutely no drama, just getting along with themselves. That is until 2020, which is where the drama really begins. So it's worth noting at this point that Phillip Schofield is married. He's been married for about 20 years. He's got 2 kids. Then in 2020, he came out as gay. Which if you look at news stories from this time, they do act like it was a huge surprise. And it was a shock that he came out, but it was not, do not get it twisted, it was not a shock that he was gay. Nobody was surprised at the fact that Phillip Schofield had came out the closet. The only surprising thing is that he just did it seemingly out the blue. But this worked great for him. Like I said, he's mainly got like an older audience, an older fan base. He now had a way to tie in their LGBTQ plus community as a whole. So he grew his fan base and it did wonders for ITV and This Morning. Ratings went through the roof. Mainly because his co-host, Holly Willoughby, interviewed him live on air and he came out live on air. So it did wonders for the show and everyone was praising him for being so brave to hold on to this secret for so long in life and finally come out. No one really mentioned anything about his wife and 2 kids. People just praised him for being so brave. But a few weeks later, rumours started to spread that he was having an affair and that the man he was having an affair with was about to go to the press. He got a hold of this first and he decided to come out to protect himself. It's also worth noting that during his interview when he was coming out, he said he made a big point that he was not being forced to come out. No one was forcing his hand on this. He was just tired of holding on to it. He wanted to live his true self and he wanted to come out for himself. But people started looking into this more and insiders from This Morning started coming out and speaking out on the rumours. And it turned out that the rumours alleged was that the person he was having an affair with worked on the show and was a boy named Matthew Mcgreevy. who was a showrunner on This Morning and very much younger than Phillip. Just for some context on this, Phillip is about 61 years old, Matthew is about 20, maybe 21 years old, so massively his senior, or massively his junior. Phillip Schofield is a hell of a lot older. Not illegal, but frowned upon. And then people started looking into this a little bit more and they started digging out some truth throughout this rumour and connecting the dots. You see, the allegations went a lot deeper. People started to allege that Phillip got Matthew the job when he just turned 18. Phillip was also a patron of the theatre company that Matthew went to as a child, and you can see photos of this which prove Phillip Schofield knew him when he was just a child. People did some more digging and this went a lot deeper. People found out that Phillip was following him on Twitter and that they were speaking together on Twitter. Then in 2015, a British YouTuber named Jack Jones made this video celebrating his 1 million followers, and in the background you got Phillip Schofield. As people were looking back and they came across this video, they noticed that the person he's having dinner with was this Matthew Mcgreevy. So he was going on these dinner dates with him. So the allegations started to stack up and seem very much true. Jack Jones has also later said that after filming that, Phillip Schofield begged him not to share the video online through fear that it would ruin his career, but didn't elaborate how it would ruin his career. And it's really one of those things, one of those times in history that we think, why did nobody speak up on this? Because this video was very popular and he's clearly on this dinner date with this younger man, and this was before he came out or before any allegations were there, but not one person said, who is that kid? Why is he going out to dinner with this child? No one ever mentioned anything about that. It's only now when the allegations are coming out, we're starting to look back and go, maybe that wasn't right. That wasn't right. But Phillip denied all of this. He said this was not a thing. These are just widespread rumours. He said he was friendly with the lad, but that was all that there was. It was just a friendship. Even though a lot of these rumours were sprouting from inside ITV. And what people were saying was everyone on the show knew about this. This was not a secret. Even his best mate and co-presenter Holly Willoughby knew about this. All the other presenters, they knew about this relationship. But he was saying it wasn't a thing, denied it outright. Allegedly, this relationship, which Phillip, remember, is denying at this point, went downhill, and then Matthew was promoted to another of ITV shows, Loose Women. Loose Women is the show that directly follows This Morning, and it's just like 4 old women talking about the news and daily topics. And I'm not going to lie to you, I absolutely love Loose Women. I used to watch it all the time. During the pandemic, I just used to watch Loose Women was the highlight of my day. Love that show. But it's not important to the story. Matthew was promoted to this show in order to get him away from Phillip because there was supposedly a little bit of drama there. Things were turning sour, which does add to this notion that he was going to out him and he was going to go to the press. Since then, we have learned that there is a super injunction on the British press to make sure they don't talk or print anything about this story. That super injunction would legally stop them printing anything about the situation. As well as that, it's came out that Phillip Schofield pays a crisis management team 30 grand a week, which you've really got to look into and ask why. Because the only person paying 30 grand a week, and I've done the maths, that adds up to about 1.5 million a year. The only person paying that kind of money, no matter how rich you are, is if you've got something to hide, right? You don't get Nelson Mandela paying 30 grand a week crisis management in case a fake story props up, right? You just don't do it. The only reason you're going to spend so much money is if you're trying to cover up something. Fair enough if he never wanted to be outed as gay and he was going around and doing a lot of, gay things that might have got him caught. pay the crisis management to squish all those stories so you can continue living your closeted life. But he's paying this even after the outing of himself. So if he's got nothing to hide, which he's saying, why is he paying such a large sum of money every week to manage any crisis that might occur? You've really got to think about that. It doesn't seem right. It seems like there's something wrong there. But I digress. He is still loved at this point by the British nation, by most people anyway. Still older people. Older people love him. That's his main audience, that's his fan base, and they don't have a problem with that. That is until 2022, when our beloved Queen passes away. Now, when the Queen passed, we had this thing called Lying in State, where anyone could visit the coffin of the Queen. They could come see her. It was basically so the public could come say their goodbyes. I think even if you are from America or Australia or wherever you are in the world, you probably know about this. People were flying from all over the world to come and see the Queen. It was a moment in history, and the queues were massive. People were queuing for days. And as British people, if there's one thing we love, it's a queue. Like the memes was saying, we have been preparing for this moment our entire life. Not the Queen passing, but the queuing. We love a good queue. And it didn't matter who you were. If you wanted to see the Queen, you were getting in that queue, right? You had people like your regular people, Lorraine from down the street in the queue in front of, David Beckham. And David Beckham's gone through his own scandals recently with the old football thing. But even he was in the queue. Celebrities and non-celebrities, the rich and famous with the not rich. It was a beautiful thing to see middle class, higher class, lower class, working class, all queuing together to see the Queen. Now, Phillip Schofield and Holly Willoughby were seen skipping the queue. And this caused absolute outrage. Just the notion that they skipped the queue made them look like they were too good, that they thought they were better than everyone else, and they didn't deserve to queue. They weren't going to queue for a few hours, God forbid, queue for a few days. No, they wanted to see the Queen. They were just going to go straight in. They came out and they said they only did it for journalism. But the British public were not really buying this at all. We just started calling them queue jumpers. But it's very important to note that, like I've been saying, Phillip Schofield's biggest fan base, his audience, his people, is the older generation of the United Kingdom. And if there's one thing that old British people love more than Phillip Schofield, it's the Queen and tradition. These are the kind of people that have a roast every Sunday, that have fish on a Friday. These are the people that love the Queen. They're the monarchists. You ask younger people in Britain what they think of the monarchy, they hate it. Older people, they absolutely love it. So when they seen Phillip Schofield skipping a queue, a British tradition, to go see the Queen, it started to hit home then. It was his own people turning on him. It was his audience that really started to ask questions, and that kind of signified a downhill. People then started to believe more of these allegations a little bit more, and these rumours a little bit more. Then we get to his brother, Timothy Schofield. More recently, his brother has been caught up in some scandals of his own, and he's actually been arrested and committed for certain crimes, which I can't speak about much on YouTube because, censorship on YouTube. They'll take the video off. No one's going to see this video if I start speaking about what his brother did. So feel free to pause this video right now and Google Timothy Schofield arrest or Timothy Schofield crimes, and you'll see what he's done, which is not that far away from what people was alleging with Phillip. So once again, these stories started to come up and people started to say, well, maybe we should be looking into this Schofield family a bit more. There's something going on here. It's worth noting that at this point, Phillip came out himself with a statement and said he never knew what his brother was up to. As far as he's concerned, he no longer has a brother, and if he did know, he would do something about it. And then later contradicted himself in court when he said he did know. So now people are not knowing what to believe with Phillip, because he says one thing, he does another thing, or he says one thing and it's like he's trying to cover up for something else. It just seems very much off. During this time, rumours also came out that Phillip and Holly was feuding behind the scenes and that Holly Willoughby was distancing herself from Phillip. She started removing any sign of him from her social media, and the rumours were that they were no longer friends, which was like a big kind of fourth wall breaking down moment, because they work so well together because of this chemistry. They spend like 2 or 3 hours every day on TV just chatting to each other like best mates, and we're led to believe that once the cameras are off, they carry that forward. You know, they go out with each other on the weekends, they go to each other's houses, they speak to each other, they text each other at night, they ring each other on Sunday. They're best mates. So once we found out that Holly was actually distancing herself and that they weren't very good mates, the whole chemistry on screen just seemed insincere. And there was still a lot of pressure on these stories with this Matthew Mcgreevy. There were stacks of evidence against him on this. And then he comes out with this statement, which is more recent times, where he said, it is true, the rumours are true, he had an affair, but it was only when he started working on the show. He says in his statement that he's deeply sorry for the affair, and he said that it was unwise but not illegal, which is important. He said, I did have a consensual on and off relationship with the younger male colleague, but contrary to speculation, whilst I met the man when he was a teenager and I was asked to help him get into television, it was only after he started to work on the show that it became more than just a friendship. I think when he came out with this, he expected people to finally let it go. To say, okay, we've got some clarification, let's let it go. But they didn't. People still started to look into it, and people continue to look into it. And then it came out that he's quit television. After a long career, he's leaving ITV, he's leaving This Morning, he's retiring from television of his own accord. This is very recent news we're in now. But since he's leaving, and since the nation are finally turning their back on him, a lot of other celebrities are coming out with their own stories and saying, you know what? He wasn't the character he portrayed. He was a nasty person. He created a bad work environment and he was a bully. 2 of those in particular who've actually been saying this a long time is the married couple Ruth and Eamonn Holmes. Ruth and Eamonn were other presenters on This Morning. They were an older married couple. They did the Friday segment, and it was always rumoured that they hated Phillip and Holly. More importantly, Eamonn and Phillip. Centred at this rumour was always the fact that Eamonn was jealous of Phillip because Phillip was the highest paid presenter on This Morning. And Eamonn was jealous because they do the same job, but for a lot less money. So people always said Eamonn is just jealous of what he's got. He's just jealous that he's getting paid more. When Phillip came out as gay, people said that Eamonn wasn't supportive and that he was a little bit condescending about it. And his wife Ruth as well. In 2019, Ruth put a formal complaint into ITV over Phillip's conduct. This followed an incident in April when Phillip rudely interrupted Ruth while she was presenting a preview of Loose Women during an episode of This Morning. She said that Phillip was rude, that he interrupted her, and that he was a bully, and that he didn't respect other people. And shortly after Phillip actually came out as gay, before all these allegations really started to spread, Eamonn Holmes was sacked from ITV. He was fired. The grounds for firing him was that an internal research revealed that he was unpopular with viewers, so they let him go. But a lot of people have been speaking out on Phillip since then. Amanda Holden is another celebrity who's done some presenting jobs alongside Phillip, has said that he's a bully. And there's just, if you just Google it, there's a lot of other celebrities. You've got Dr. Ranj has said that he was a bully. The main thing people are saying is that he thinks he's better than everyone else. He's a bully, and he doesn't even learn people's names. He doesn't respect other people. And Holly gets dragged into a lot of this as being exactly the same, which is probably why she's distancing herself. But the reason I'm putting more emphasis on Eamonn and Ruth is because they've been saying it for such a long time, and it's always been brushed off as they're jealous because, hey, Phillip and Holly are the nation's heroes. So anyone who badmouths them is the person in the wrong. But they've been saying it for so long. But now all this stuff has came out, people are looking back and saying, well, maybe Eamonn had a different motive for what he was saying. Maybe there's some truth in what he was saying, and it wasn't because he's jealous. After Phillip's statement about the whole "it was legal" thing came out, Eamonn took to Twitter to express his thoughts. He mentioned that Phillip had finally been caught out, but he also pointed out that 4 high-ranking ITV management members were aware of Phillip's behaviour and did nothing to address it, allowing him to take advantage of his position. Eamonn now works on GBNews, and he's recently done an interview where he is going in on Phillip. I urge you to watch it after this. I'll put a link in the description, but he speaks out. He speaks his mind. He started saying that Phillip is deluded, that he's detached. He's calling him the chief narcissist. He's saying that Phillip never stepped back, that he was fired. And a lot of what he says does hold weight, because you've got to remember, he was also a presenter on This Morning while Phillip was there. So he knows what was going on inside. And even though now he's been fired, his wife, Ruth, still works for ITV. So he has got a lot of insider knowledge. He speaks out about the whole Matthew Mcgreevy thing and says that everyone knew what was going on. He speaks out about Phillip being a bully. He also speaks out about Holly Willoughby not knowing anyone's name, being just as bad, and knowing everything about Phillip and keeping that secret and helping him cover it all up. And that pretty much concludes the entire timeline of the drama. Longer video, so I hope you've been able to keep up with it, because like I said, there's a lot of allegations, rumours, then things coming out, then things being hidden. So it's quite the difficult story to follow, but that's the basics of it. We don't know if there is anything else. There's enough people now coming out and saying that he makes a bad work environment and that he's a bully to be able to say that he is a bully. Enough people to believe that that's true. Whether there's something more seedy going on currently, we do not know. But it reminds me a lot of a different case in British history which happened, and that is the case of Jimmy Savile. I'm not saying it's the same thing. I'm not. Like I said, there's no facts here other than the things that I've said are facts. All of this is alleged. I'm not comparing him to Jimmy Savile, saying he definitely is doing that thing, but what I'm saying is there are some similarities in the story. If it were to be happening, all I will say is ITV will do whatever they can to protect him. Because if Phillip Schofield goes down, he doesn't go down alone. He pulls a lot of people down with him. We found out that Holly Willoughby knew a lot about this affair and tried to cover it on his behalf. So if there's more to the story, it tarnishes her career as well. It pulls her down. Well, you knew about his sexuality and you knew about the affair and you said nothing about that and you helped him cover that up. So how do we know you don't know about this extra thing? Like Eamonn was saying, everyone in the ITV production team, the higher members of ITV, knew about this. So the finger gets pointed at them. This happened in your business. It's happened in your work time. Eamonn speaks about the fact that he used to get private drivers for Matthew Mcgreevy to go to his house. People at ITV would have known this. So why didn't they say anything? He's a powerful man, and we see this a lot with powerful men who do this kind of thing, is that they have protection because of who they are and who knows what was going on, if that makes sense. And if you look on places like TikTok, it's been spoken about a lot. Yet if you go on ITV News or ITV channels, you don't hear a peep about it. It's like it doesn't exist because they don't want to speak about it. They hold the power. But my final note, as I've said, this is all alleged. So if there is a part of Phillip Schofield's 30 grand a week crisis management team watching this video, you have no right to report it or remove it. This is not misinformation. I'm just commenting on opinions from different sides of the story, and I'm just commenting on what is being said by the British public, and I am not claiming anything, just retelling the rumours. That is it.